I will just jump in with a couple questions, and I know there's going to be lots of questions from the audience, so I'm not going to take too much time. But I do want to start with Darrell. Thank you so much for sharing this story with us all. I mean, my question is in many ways a very simple one, but can you tell us about the importance of, you've written about this in the past, but can you tell us about the importance of having it in this visual form, your story, to be able to help other people? Can you talk about sort of the importance of that for you?
Of what?
Of sharing your story in this visual form.
Cinematically?
Yeah.
Well, it's more powerful than me. It's more powerful than the book. I think the book, the Audible book's pretty powerful too. But seeing it like that, I mean, I can't watch it. I watched it once. I don't ever want to see that damn shit. I'll never see that damn movie again. It's an exquisite film. I didn't think I could be kept. I mean, that my whole story could be so. What's the word I'm looking for? I want to say acute. So, well, cinematically, depicted. I don't know. It really upset me, but I thought it was a great film, and I don't want to see it again.
That's the pull quote for the poster.
I mean, I did the play at La Jolla Playhouse. Patrick Harold, my agent, is here, and everyone said, "How can you do that every night?" But it was only a 90-second scene where I relived any of it. The rest of it was me just, jitter-jiving around and talking about how I learned to do voices and stuff like that. But there was like a 90-second thing where the doctor takes me right back, and so it was only like 90 seconds. Even then, that was a lot. But
And Michelle, if I can turn to you, and I think what's remarkable about this film is that you are sharing this very difficult story, but you are finding ways of injecting it with Darrell's humor, within Darrell's personality. Can you talk about the balancing act you had to wage, basically, with tackling such a serious subject, but also not making it so overwhelming that people can't watch it?
Yeah. Well, my editors, I wish they were up here to help me talk about the balancing act, because it was very... Right, Mark and Adam. I mean, the balancing act between the comedy and the tragedy is what I was hoping to do, and to make it something that was tolerable, because it is a hard story. But when it got too hard, I didn't want to throw a joke in. We didn't want to throw a joke in, right? But I think the best compliment that I got from Darrell was that the balance between the tragedy and the comedy, he thought was pretty good.
Did anyone laugh at any of it?
Yeah, you have to see it with an audience. It's not
Just the funny parts.
I did miss two people that I wanted to acknowledge. Darrell's best friend in the film, Larry Laskowski. Larry, I told him when he told me he hadn't talked to Darrell, and I said, we had like a little pre-interview on the phone, and I said, well, maybe you'll talk on camera for the first time.
That was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, and I told him, being the voice of all of us who don't want to believe this is so powerful, Larry, and you were so brave to say this and to talk to Darrell and to talk to me in the interview and say, I don't believe it. I'm not sure it's true. I mean, that's what happened at the Kavanaugh hearings, right? And for Dr. Ford, I mean, we were there at the same time the hearings were, and all Congress met. I said they're going to cancel because of the hearings, and they met with us because the issue was so important. But you spoke for all of us, and I thank you. And Sonia Rajeski, the yoga teacher, is here. Sorry, I mispronounced your last name. Sonia.
And I'd love to, Regina, your Artemis Rising Foundation has supported scores and scores of really important films. You're a force within the documentary world. Can you talk a little bit about supporting this project and why it was so important for you?
Well, one, I believe in Michelle. She's a magical storyteller. Darrell, I think you're just extraordinarily courageous. And I love the line in the film. You really hit this home where we heal through our stories. And 80% of our learning is also visual. So I'm particularly attracted to this form through documentary storytelling. And I just believe that films like this, when people come forward, if they're brave enough, if they're strong enough, who survive some of these stories, that they're DNA changers, because no one in this audience is the same person as they were before they saw this movie. I'm not. And our foundation has supported over 150 films, and they're all cherry-picked. They're very special. And we do it because the more we share these stories, the more we collectively heal. So that's why we do it. Very proud of this film. I just think it's so well done and so special, and it should be seen in every school, everywhere, by parents and students. It's just very, very, very beautiful.
People ask me why I did it, like that I was all courageous and everything, but it's not so much that. It just seems like the hallelujah chorus moment for a survivor is the day they become as powerful as their perpetrator. And I was, or even more powerful, but until the second she died, I was scared. She was scared. My friend Eddie, the cop's here, he helped me bury my dad, and he met her, he's like, remember that? You're like, oh, man. I thought I was gonna draw my piece on this chick. Jesus Christ, and she's sitting there mouth with smiling, talking about biblical stuff. She knows everything you can know about the Bible, but I mean, even the devil can use the Bible to suit his own needs. Is that smart? but Eddie, he's a stone cold cop. He's a cop's cop. And he met her, he's like, I don't know. I'm glad I'm packing. She was a rough one.
And one other hallelujah moment for you was when you met with Dr. Kotby. Is my saying that? Yeah, close enough. Can I ask you about how many people do you think are misdiagnosed whose trouble really does stem from early childhood trauma?
A lot. That's, I think all the studies that are out there are underestimating the effect of the incidence, the prevalence of childhood abuse. I want to, if I may, say something. So my biggest life achievement is that I made Darrell laugh at the first time I saw it. I just realized that. I'm so proud of it. But on a serious note, it took a lot of work for me. I'm a huge fan of his. Of course, I was on call that day and I met him, and I had to work through my counter-transference to see the person, not the star, the huge artist. And I want to address the issue that someone may have planted these things, these memories, false memories, because this is you can hear it, you can read about it in many things. It wasn't the case at all with Mr. Hammond. I was interested, curious about how could someone who could make all of us so happy, how could he be so miserable? And the story about you're having all these diagnoses, it just doesn't make any sense. And this is how my journey with Darrell started, and I'm so happy and proud that he allowed me to partner with him.
Thank you. I'd love to open it up to questions from the audience. We have time for a few, so I see you right now first, please.
Darrell, thank you for having the balls and Michelle Esrick for this project. I wish I would have known the doctor before my own son. My question is really specific to Michelle. To me, the moment in the film that was the paradigm shifter was when you discovered truth is being withheld. Keep alive.
You mean in that house?
In your house.
The biggest enemy in that house was the truth.
And so when you came back,
That's the enemy, yeah.
but how, I guess my question is, how did you come to terms with that?
How do you mean?
You were a little voice in it when you were adult and you're a celebrity and you're coming back into this and your life and you're figuring yourself out. That takes an
couple of bucks.
I guess just for you personally, how do you rationalize truth from wrong?
Oh, yeah. The thrust of the therapy, as I was understanding it at the time, of course, I'm a nut job. I could have made the whole thing up in my head. I mean, was that my illness? The thing that characterized it the most was the inability to tell the truth to myself, to tell myself the truth about what I'm looking at. Because if I had that growing up, of course, I would have gone mad, or I just would have been in the penitentiary somewhere. My brain just goes, all right, you're gonna have to figure that thing out in about a half a century, bro. Yeah, but Eddie and Larry and I knew each other, and I think the golden years of my life, it was the summers where we were playing ball and nobody was bothering us. My mother had backed off, I don't know what she was doing. But we laughed our asses off. I had 3 years of the best life, right? But then puberty hit, and there was the whole idea of sexuality, which, the purposes, I understand people like my mom is you can't leave. I'll wire your sexuality. You'll not ever have your own. There won't be other women, and that's for sure. You can't leave here. You won't ever, ever have a day in your life in which you don't feel me. That's what the rapists do. Yes? Of what? I was just telling Chelsea, we're talking before the show, I'm like, if I ever meet God, I'm going to say to him or her, hey man, why don't these people feel bad about this shit? Because they don't. And you couldn't get my mother to admit that in a million goddamn years. I mean, he was there. She's smiling. My mom was the kind of person, they were like, do you want to do some chemo? She's like, nah, just get it over with. Like, she was ready for fucking hell. She was ready to go right back. Obviously she didn't come from hell. But monsters don't make themselves. But, part of what I was learning to live with Dr. K was do you hate that, Dr. K? All right. Was that monsters often have to be victims before they're monsters. Still monsters. But once I could get some sense that my mother had been hideously abused, I could do what they called forgiving. Not like hey, now I really do love you, Mom. Yeah, it's gonna be better than ever. We're gonna be friends and I'm gonna write Mother's Day cards to you again. It's not like that. It's sort of like, I understand now why you did what you did, but you were never my mother. I didn't have one. And cut it loose. I mean, the day that I felt a little sympathy for the devil, just a little bit, for a little girl being tortured or something, nightmares stopped, everything stopped. That was a huge deal. Now, I could get the diagnosis while I'm in the place of what I am instead of, all the schizophrenic and all the other things they thought I could have been, because I showed signs of all of those, but it's complex PTSD. I mean, it's what soldiers have, right? I don't know. There's a way to deal with it. But man, I had to let her go. I think the preacher Joel Osteen says, the forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. It just means you don't matter to me. I know exactly who you are now. I understand. I'm sorry that happened to you. You're gone. That was a big deal. You know what I mean? But then you leave and you're like, now how does a guy with complex PTSD live? How do you spend your days? Well, I do cognitive therapy. exercises from a book called Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman. I do yoga badly, but I do it. You know, I take Epsom salt baths, I do fellowship stuff, I do every damn thing you can throw at it. The only thing I haven't tried is acupuncture and somatic experiencing, which I did do at Sierra Tucson, and I still have more stuff I can do. But it's like I said, that perp saying to you, when I do this to you, you don't leave me. I'll be with you every day, every day. So I do these things every day. I don't do them all every day. I do some every day. And I like to have these days where I just want to kick my underwear up in the air and catch it. And that's what I'm gonna do today. But I don't have those things. You know, I gotta work at it a little bit.
Yes, so unfortunately we do have to wrap up. The time has gone by very quickly and we have to turn over the house. So I'm very sorry about that, but we are so thankful for you to share this story with us, and thank you all for bringing your friends here.